Hey, what's going on, everybody? Back again with another video. Brian Maples here, and I have been off for a little while, guys. I apologize. I've just been getting my mind right and just getting my business ready for Christmas and for Q4. Sales have definitely picked up. It's been really awesome. I don't know about you guys, but my sales have been off the charts. Um, so I'm excited. So I'm going to talk about a few things today. What I really want to talk to you about is how I got started, how I went from $0, actually, not just $0, I went from debt, literally used credit card debt. I'm not suggesting you do any of this. This is all my own opinions, so take it for what you will. But I went from $0 credit card debt to doing 70K in revenue a month off of two main products that are related, and making 12, 14, $15,000 a month. Um, and I'm going to tell you guys how I got there and what my journey was, and let me explain where I started. So I've kind of covered this in previous videos on Paul Savage's YouTube videos, but I never really covered it on my channel, and I want to talk to you about how I got into this and how I got started. And so let me tell you a little bit about myself. I went to school for years, so this is the path that many people take, right? You get out of college. At least when I got out of college, now I'm in my 40s. I'm in my early 40s. I got out of college. You were told go to college, get a degree, come out, get a good job, right? Make money, save up, you retire when you're 65, right? So I kind of went into there. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have any direction. The internet at that time was nothing like it was today. Amazon was nothing like it was today. Amazon was a bookstore. Um, Things were different. I grew up at the dawn of the internet when it really started becoming what we see today. And I remember in the '90s, doing HTML coding, and I was really into computers on that level, just kind of what makes them tick. But I never really had the math skills to really want to get in deeply into programming. I enjoyed building websites, doing stuff like that. I was very creative. It didn't mean I want to sit there and program all day. I think I would have had the capability to do it. I just never wanted to get into math that much and logic, and it just was really took a programming class and it really turned me off. I really wasn't into it. That being said, I did almost go into a graphics design course. I looked at that. I wanted to build websites for a living. Um, I could have, and there's definitely a market for it, but it's very competitive. You have to be a real go-getter as far as at the time there wasn't as much internet traffic like there is today. You'd have to almost go door to door. It was a different world back then. So, I went for what I truly do love. I was going to be a teacher, and I was going to teach history. I actually have a history degree from Slippery Rock University. If you ever see it on ESPN, they tend to, for some reason, they cover Slippery Rock's like championship or whatever. It's almost like an ongoing joke at ESPN. But Slippery Rock was a good place. It was fun. I met a lot of good people up there. I still have a lot of friends today that I've met from Slippery Rock. Um, yeah, it was a good overall experience. I got a degree in history, just a degree in history. I never got a degree in, unfortunately, teaching. But I'm not sure I'd want to be a teacher today with the way things are. But that's a whole other topic. But so I have a different perspective than a lot of people. A lot of the people doing Amazon, I feel like, are younger people, and that's not always the case. But a lot of them are younger. A lot of them, you know, are very much into technology and they know how to do things a lot easier. Now, I was the youngest in my family, and I was always the go-to computer person on how to do things. I didn't even get into computers though until I was out of high school. I hated computers because all we would do on computers it was nothing fun. You would just do, um, spreadsheets, and you would do Word, and you had to learn how to use Word, and they would tell you how you're going to need to use, how you need to know how to do this. If I was a secretary or something, yeah, like basic Word is not rocket science. But we would do all kinds of watermarks and just scanning. Like you'd put your paper in a scanner, and it would take you like 20 minutes to scan one page. You'd pull up a web page, it'd take you three minutes to pull up a web page. Even that was fascinating to me, but everything was so much slower, and it was so different. You want a 56K modem if you had internet at all, and it was a different world. And once broadband came out, when I got out of high school, this was like early '90s, excuse me, late '90s, early 2000s. Then DSL came around. That was like wow. And then cable internet came, and it was just, it blew your mind because it was so much faster. That's when, first person shooting games came out. I remember I'd play those things for hours, and I would just be so good at those things. I could shoot anybody from like a mile away. This was when the first ones came out. This was when, like, the Quake engine came out, and all these cool games came out. Um, Unreal Tournament and Soldiers of Fortune, all these crazy games came out. It was a blast. I used to love doing that, and I wasted a lot of my time drinking and going out, and I was working the whole time. I always worked, but I would blow my paycheck instead of saving it or doing something with it on going out and, or doing something useless with my time, like a lot of young people do. I didn't have a vision. I didn't have any kind of direction. I knew I didn't really want to work for somebody 9 to 5, but I didn't really see any other option, right? I'd love to start a business, but where do you get the money? I was always told you need a ton of money to start a business. So, these are all things that kind of stuck with me over the years. I got a couple different degrees. I went back and got a degree. I'm a certified physical therapist assistant. It means I can basically treat people for injuries, and I can do the treatments. I don't do the diagnosis. But you tend to get to know the diagnosis after you work with enough people. But I'm not qualified to do that. I'm only qualified to work with people. But also, I have a history degree, which are completely opposite ends of the spectrum. I have part of my master's in business, but you know, I just have so much schooling. It's stupid, and I have so much debt from it. My point being is that you go through all this schooling, you get out, you get a job that you maybe can tolerate, or maybe you love it. I never found a job I truly loved. I liked my last job. I didn't hate it. I liked talking to people, and I realized if I was working around people, people were very interesting, and I knew I would be somewhat happy talking to people, and somewhat happy doing that job if I could find out people's backgrounds and their stories. So to make a very long story a little shorter, um, so I always had this interest in reselling stuff, and I just never had a mentor to help me with it. Um, I just never saw an opportunity. So I'm sure there were tons of opportunities that passed me by. I just wasn't looking, right? So once I got to the point where I was working, I talked to a lot of people. I met this gentleman, really cool older guy. He sells on eBay, and he would sell at like flea markets and stuff. And I got to talking to him, and you could tell he really loved it. He was passionate about it, and I was like, yeah, I'd really like to know how do you do this. So I started asking him a lot of questions because I had no idea where you find stuff to resell, right? So he kind of led me down the path of where you find this stuff, and you know, Wholesale Central. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull it up. um, Wholesale Central is where I kind of get started looking for stuff, and it's kind of a cool site. They have basically third-party sellers. So what they do is they'll buy it like maybe in bulk from closeouts, or maybe they'll buy it directly from China or wherever. It doesn't have to be from China, but and then they'll mark it up a little bit and sell it as a wholesaler. But they're not really the wholesaler. They're really a middleman between the they're really a distributor in a way. They're the reseller between the factory or they might be a closeout, but typically probably a factory. They import it, and then they sell it off to other people for more money, who in turn sell it to retail for maybe. So, example, this soccer ball, maybe you buy for 580, maybe you sell it for $12, and you get the profit on that. So, this is kind of the site I first got into selling, and kind of got me interested in general in reselling. And I couldn't find it on here now, but I found a place called Country Club Products. One of the people, this guy was really uh, well off. He made a lot of money doing a business. Wasn't online or anything. Wasn't selling, but he told me about his relatives who were selling sheets, right? And they would go to these different, um, I guess, different like marketplaces, whatever you call them, like a trade show, right? And they would take a bunch of sheets, and he said they would make thousands of dollars selling these sheets, like cheap. So I'm thinking, okay, like sheets, that's the way to go. I'll buy sheets. It wasn't really my thing, but if I can make money off it, I'll buy some sheets. So what I did is I ordered a bunch of specifically these ones, which, and I ordered pillows, and I had some other things too. I had some covers. all these different things. And what I did is I went on Facebook Marketplace and I sold like thousands of dollars in sheets. I was actually kind of amazed. But so my experience with that is I would literally go either, put them on Facebook Marketplace, meet people. I would even drop it off at their house if they were local. I'd meet them somewhere. People would drive from really far just to buy some sheets. And I really had a customer service background. I worked in the customer service industry for years, for over 10 years. Um, and that's kind of, I understood. I worked for Verizon. I worked for Guardian Protection, a couple different companies out there that just, I did customer service for them. And, I had a lot of experience training people and just doing it. And I always wanted to have great customer service. So the thing was, I was only making like $10 for every sheet, every pack of sheet I sold. Sometimes I'd sell 3 or 4 packs. You make 30, $40. It was cool. Made me a little extra money. I could make, $80 a week, which doesn't sound like much. I started going to not garage sales. I started going to flea markets to try to sell them. First time I went, didn't sell one, or maybe I sold one. The second time we went, we did sell some sheets. But also I took some tolls from the gentleman I talked to you about, and I sold some of those. So tolls seemed to sell pretty well. He had a lot of connections on buying those at auctions and different places. But so, I kind of got into it that way, by talking to him and checking out Wholesale Central. What I realized though was that there was no way I was ever going to make any real money. Selling sheets for $10 a piece, driving up to my local store and meeting somebody. Sometimes people wouldn't show up. Sometimes people would tell you they'd meet you there and then say, "Oh, I was sleeping." Like ridiculous stuff, right? So I was like, "This isn't going to get me out of my 9 to 5," which is what I started thinking. I want to do this full time, but how can I do it? And then I came across YouTube videos. I was looking at Amazon, and I think at first I was looking up eBay maybe, and I ended up coming across Paul Savage, as many of you know him by. Um, and right now he does Savage University, and you'll see me on there, completely legit. Um, I think I'm right there. I'm completely legit. Everything I said is absolutely true. My numbers are absolutely real. I'll show them to anybody who wants to see them. Point being is, I started watching him, and he started doing retail arbitrage, which I thought was real cool. Actually, he started doing online arbitrage. So he would actually, and many of you have probably seen this if you follow Paul, he'd buy on VPawn, which is VPawn for those of you that you don't know. VPawn's a site that they used to be only Amazon. I think they've changed it since. But basically, people would put their stuff on VPawn at a discounted rate, get a discount code. You would copy it for you and take it to you directly to Amazon. You would use that code, and you'd be able to buy it at a discounted rate. So let's say, again, let's just say my phone. Let's say there was a phone on there. It wouldn't be a phone, but it'd be like a watch or something, right? Electronic watch. You buy that watch, and then you send it to. They send it to you, and then you take that watch, and this was the killer for the people selling it. You would get it at maybe a 40, 50% discount or more. You'd go back on their listing and sell their watch. So you'd go back on there, sell their watch under their own listing, and you would make money that way. And I did that for a few things. I made, like $150. But then, shortly thereafter, they started cracking down on it, and people started getting IP complaints. I actually got 2 of them, and I fought them. I sent in the rules that Amazon put out there. I copied them. I literally used their rules. Specifically said you were allowed to do it if you had an invoice, and Amazon counts as an invoice. Sent it right back to them, and I got them both removed. So I have successfully beat IP complaints in the past. But yeah, so I thought that was a really cool concept, right? You buy it for on Amazon, ironically enough, and resell it on Amazon. It sounds crazy, but it worked. But I didn't really make much off that. But I thought that it was just such a genius concept. So I started following Paul, and he really got into where he said he was going to be taking students, and that really intrigued me. So I went ahead and I signed up. I was one of the first students to sign up, and I got his monthly list, and I would look at his monthly list and try to figure out, what makes this a good product. I'd ask questions. Um, I tried to launch 2 products on my own, not extremely successfully. Didn't do real well on those. I didn't lose a ton either. But at any rate, the third product I took it off of his list, and I did really well. Um, I did put the differentiation together myself, the bundle, so to speak, and put the different elements together myself. And I did the work myself. I went through multiple samples. It took me months. So I want to give Paul credit where credit's due because he gave me the idea, and the numbers were great. And I saw the numbers. I'm like, numbers are fantastic. The revenue was fantastic, and the competition was low. It's very hard to find a product like that anymore, to be honest with you, where it was the numbers looked that good for that long. And even though it took me a while, I got it in. It did really okay at first, didn't do great, but then it started picking up. I was very aggressive. I spent a ton of money on PPC to start, like a lot. I really was like, this was like do or die for me because I knew if this didn't work, I was gonna have to go back and save up money and pay off the debt that I took on from credit cards because I took on credit card debt to do it. I'm not suggesting you do that, but I took on credit card debt, so I started with nothing, right? And um, I ended up doing pretty well, and I ended up paying off that debt. But then I had to order more inventory, so I needed to take on more debt. That's a whole other story. But so I started from literally nothing. I mean, I took a few thousand from my tax refund that I used, but I had to pay off the previous products that I had launched and kind of failed at. So I really started with debt on my credit card, and I built that up, and I differentiated this product really well. I thought, and the market was just a great market to be in, especially for the time. It was surprising the market that I'm in. I never would have imagined, but it's really great, and I'm really happy about it. So I've since then launched more within the niche, and it's done really well. Specifically, one of their products done really well, and they bring in no joke like two products mainly bring me in like 70K a month in revenue, and that's no joke. Of course, we're getting in Q4, so my numbers are going to be a little higher more than likely. But if you guys can see it, and I'm showing you, this is just proof, right? It should refresh. There we go. It's refreshing. So my numbers for today: 24 units for 1,154 in rev, and 72,000 in revenue for the month. Now It's very competitive in my market now. It's not easy to break into it anymore, and I have lowered my prices quite a bit. So I don't make a ton off that 72,000. I used to make a lot more. I can make as much as a third, but not anymore. Not even close. But that's okay because I spend a ton on PPC. That's where I try to stay on top, and I've I spend as much as 200 to 300, closer to $300 a day on PPC, but I make 400 sometimes, 500, sometimes closer to $600 in a day profit. So if I put in 300, I usually would get 300 back. That's pretty typical, which is not bad, and not including the cost of the product. So the margins are low, but if I'm making $300-400 profit a day, and that's every day a week of the week, that's 7 days a week. That's not 5 days. So that brings you in like honestly, I'm on track. If I were to keep up this pace to do 140, 150,000. I don't expect to do that because January and February are slower, um, in March, and different times of the year are slower, and then they pick up. So it's hard to say with COVID. Things have picked up dramatically online, so the sales might continue throughout to be pretty strong. I just don't know, and I'm also working on new products. I have a new one launching coming up here, so it's interesting, but it changed my life completely. So did he give me every piece of knowledge to launch it? No, like absolutely not. But he gave me the niche, and then I worked within that niche to build a brand within that niche. I did my own logo, I did my own trademarking, I did my own pictures. I had the drive and I had the will to do it myself. And I'd asked him for advice and said, "What do you think about this?" And he gave me his opinion. There were no guarantees, and nor did he ever guarantee anything. And I don't guarantee. I actually coach people, and I don't guarantee anything to those people. You've got to do the work, and you've got to put in the work, and you've got to take the risk yourself. I had failed multiple products. People ask me, "Well, this is going to work, right?" Look, I'm giving you my best opinion. That's all I can do. But anyway, I don't want to harp on that. The thing is, it's kind of where I started. I started with nothing, and I get to the point where COVID hit, and I was making like 150, like maybe more, $150 or more a day, which is pretty good. Like a lot of people can live off that. I know it's not a ton of money, but I was making like $100 some a day, $150 a day. I was really happy with that. And I was spending about 100, 150. So it was kind of like put in 150, get 150, put in 100, get 150. Now I put in 300, I get 300, 400, 500. Just depends. So, I got to the point where I was making, where it really, really hit was Christmas did really well last year. I was selling, I thought I made $500, $600 in a day. And I was like, this is amazing. I made like $700 a day. I was like, this is the best thing ever. And as I got more reviews and built up my rank, March hit and COVID really took hold and sales just went ballistic. They just went bonkers. And I ended up doing really well. And I ended up putting in an order for 1,600 units of the item I have, of one of the items I have. And then afterwards, Amazon had put the restrictions on. So I already had this order in for 1,600 and I already had the shipping plan created. And this was a few days before that hit. And I was like, oh, wow. So I shipped them all in, 1,600 units, and I sold them all. This was how crazy the market was. It was completely sold out. Like, so many things were sold out all over the place. You know how everything went crazy with like toilet paper and everything. Like everything was sold out. Not just I don't sell toilet paper. I don't sell an essential, but everything was sold out. So I ended up getting in there and I crushed it. I made like $30,000+ in like 13 days, 12 days. It was absolutely insane. I ran out of stock. I almost did $100,000 in sales in like 12 or 13 days. It was crazy. And I was like, wow, like this is it. I'm done. I'm done with my job. I can go do this on my own. This is huge. It really, that was it. That was like the moment I knew I was like, I can. So I continued to work into July. So I made those sales in May, I think it was, when I get that stock in. And then I got another stock in after, and another stock. It was still really selling well. I sold out all of those. So I made really good money from like May to like, and I still am, but the sales were unbelievable from like May to like the end of the summer. And then like September hit and things started slowing down. I didn't really have any stock in there. I was completely out of stock. And then I think at the end of September, I finally got my stock back in, and I had to regain my rank. Like I had lost so much of my rank. But that's kind of my story. I started from nothing. I built it up from that, and COVID really helped accelerate that quickly. I was doing well before that. I think it was on my way. My guess is though I'd still probably be working. I don't know. I might not be because I've launched other stuff. I probably would be doing okay. Probably making 200 or 300 bucks a day, even probably 200 some dollars a day, even if COVID didn't hit. I'm not sure. It's hard to say because my reviews now, I have over 500 reviews of some of my items. So, back then I only had maybe 20 or 30, right? So it makes a big difference when you have that many reviews because you have that social proof. But that is my story, guys. I started from nothing. I was absolutely determined to make it. Absolutely determined. And I don't want to get soft now that I'm here. And I'm not here, I still have the mountain to climb, and I'm still climbing the mountain every day. But, you do get complacent somewhat. The biggest issue I have now is I don't have the money to launch a new product. And you can say, how could that be? You made 30 grand in 13 days, right? Yes, but I never actually cashed that out because it just goes right back into inventory. And that's where I'm having the issue. I have, $80,000, $90,000 in inventory that I can't get out because it's all wrapped up in inventory. I need to keep replenishing the inventory. For one item, just to get it over, if I order 1,000 units, it's going to be like $27,000. That's a lot of money. And I have, Amazon takes 2 weeks to pay out. So, I have maybe 2,000 in rotation. That's like 50 some $1,000 in inventory, not including the thousands of other items I have for variations. And that's upwards of, $30,000, $40,000. So it's pretty crazy. Um, and then I have a hard time just keeping that stuck, which is a blessing. I'm truly blessed, and I'm happy with that. But it's hard to launch something else when you are maxing out your credit cards just to get in inventory for Q4 because I don't want to run out because that's when you really make your money. So I expect to hopefully do very well, God willing, and everything will go smooth, and I'll make a decent buck. So we'll see how it goes. But I am just so blessed to do this. Um, I worked really my ass off to get here. It's not so easy. Now, once it's running, it's somewhat easy, but you have to constantly, if you want to stay on top of it, you're not going to just let it go, right? You're going to constantly be working on your PPC. You got to have a sense of paranoia on some level so you can, keep an edge somewhat. And you want to keep developing new stuff. Now, I'm kind of stopped by, I had to launch multiple products, but some of them have been successful. Some of them have been okay. I'm getting rid of an okay one now. It has over 100 reviews. It's selling really well now, but it doesn't sell really well necessarily all year. I probably should have ordered more for the holidays. I just didn't think about it. It's kind of too late now. So, at any rate, I'm doing great. Like I said, I'm making probably $14,000 a month right now in profit, which is fantastic. But again, it all gets rolled into inventory. So, just trying to keep stock in and trying to make it through the holiday and just trying to crush it. And that's the thing. I haven't realized any of the money yet. It's still all in debt. I still have tons of money in debt into the inventory. So I'm not seeing any money come out to me. So no, I'm not driving a Lambo. And I'm not buying anything because I don't have any of the money from the company. It's still all wrapped up in inventory. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in inventory. So it's when you do reach that success, it's awesome, but you have to have the funds to back it up. So if you don't have some kind of credit, you might be in trouble. I mean, I literally have right now, um, like $50,000 or $60,000 in credit cards, maxed. I'm not kidding. It's just part of it. It's part of what you do to fund it. You have to have something to fund it. So that's what I do. That's how I fund it. So until that gets ahead, the problem is I just gotta keep buying more inventory because I sell so many in that day, which is a good problem to have. But now I'm doing more volume than I am higher margins because the competition's higher. So, I can afford to do that. So it gives me an advantage to whatever my competition because they can only order, new people can only order a couple hundred until they sell some, and then they can order a little bit more. But I'll have, 1,500, 2,000 units in, and I can sell at a lower price and I can do more volume. But it also costs more money to refill that inventory. So the quantity limits that give current sellers an advantage in my mind and new sellers a disadvantage trying to come in and compete. It's just so hard to stay in stock for them because it's constantly trying to replenish if they are selling well. And I can do massive amounts versus they can only do a smaller amounts. And I can hopefully get a better price too. But so anyway, rant over. I wanted to tell you guys how I went from nothing to 20, excuse me, 14K a month in profit, 70 some thousand in revenue, and I expect to do much more. I expect to do over 100,000 plus in Q4. I think even higher, maybe 120, 130,000, if I can stay in stock, which is a challenge for me. So anyway, guys, I hope you're all doing well. I do coach people. I only take a limited number of students. If you're interested, FBA Commute. It's fbacommute@gmail.com. Just drop me an email. Or you can check out patreon.com/FBA Commute. All right, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you have a blessed day. It's a beautiful 65-degree day here, and the sun's out, and I might just go take a walk and just, go to the gym. That's the nice part about having the freedom you have when you do this. You can do what you want to a point. I mean, you've got to run it. You've got to put the work in, and I do constantly. I'm constantly talking to students and working with them, and I'm working on some other ventures on eBay and some other, different items. So I hope you guys have a blessed day. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. That really helps me, and it really encourages me to make more videos if people subscribe to it. If you find this information useful, thanks, guys. Have a great day.